Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Anthony Carlisle. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in the show today, city volunteers help clean up an elderly woman's home in Fuding, China. We continue our series on bird flu, looking at how the virus quickly mixed and mutated to pose a dangerous threat to humans. And later in our series on Taiwan's traditional industries, we visit a 50-year-old balloon factory where the workers are made to feel like members of the family. 97-year-old Mrs. Liu lives alone in a small shack right off Highway 314 that runs through Fuding City in China's Fujian province. Her house is close to falling apart, and due to her advanced age, Mrs. Liu has been unable to clean up the dirt that's been accumulating over the years. Learning of her condition, Tzu volunteers arrived to give the house a solid makeover, bringing a priceless smile to Mrs. Liu's face that the volunteers captured on film.
Amid her old bedding and the broken windows and doors of her house, Grandma Liu, living in Fujian's Fuding City, sits and watches the traffic pass by on Highway 314.
She was saying how difficult her life is and that she would have been better off dead than alive. But then we showed up and it brightened up her day.
Today is a day that Grandma Liu has been looking forward to. After first visiting 2 weeks earlier, city volunteers are here once again to help the senior clean up and restore her home. Those with construction background quickly get to work.
Setting up the tarpaulin will help stop the wind from entering through the cracks in the house. We then lock the doors down, and with the doors closed, we then straighten the doors from the outside.
Volunteers also turn their attention to Grandma Liu's bedding. Next, volunteers turn their attention to Grandma Liu herself. With hot water ready, 3 volunteers work together to wash and cut Grandma Liu's hair.
You have helped me tidy up and take care of the things that I can't. I'm in your debt. My life is much easier now. I'm in for.
Grandma Liu lives alone with failing eyesight and hearing. However, a set of new clothes helped chase Grandma Liu's loneliness away. Seeing that there are those that still care for her, Grandma Liu is all smiles as she turns to face the camera.
Turning to southern Africa, city volunteers in Lesotho recently visited several care recipients with food, daily essentials and love. The volunteers also reminded the recipients to keep a positive attitude regarding the future and be on the lookout for chances to help others.
We can take care of them.
A blanket on the concrete floor serves as a bed, and this is the extent of the care recipients' home furnishings.
25 kg for maize meal and 12.5 bread flour.
Lesotho's volunteers drive to each care recipient's house, bringing foodstuffs as well as other daily necessities such as soap, laundry detergent and candles. Two 20-kilogram bags of goods will make even the strongest man sweat, and some areas are only accessible by carrying the supplies on foot. This old man may be hard of hearing, partially blind and forgetful, yet he still remembers these words. Whether it is the home of a 90-year-old woman or 4 orphans living on their own, Tzu is there to help.
Tzu is a big family. We are helping no matter. We bring hope to people. We bring love. So we all hope that in the future we are able to help other people.
In addition to bringing help to the recipients, volunteers also hope to encourage them in doing their part to changing their lives and the lives of those around them for the better. The challenge of bird flu is keeping health authorities around the world on their toes. The virus is dangerous because it can quickly mix with other strains and evolve by itself to form new varieties that are highly infectious and even deadly. Since 1997, when the H5N1 virus first broke out in Hong Kong, a total of 590 cases have been confirmed, of whom a very high percentage of 349 people have died. Let's find out more.
The H5N1 avian influenza virus spread from where it first broke out in Asia to the rest of the world in a short 8 years. Up until March 2012, over 590 people have been infected, 349 of whom had died.
The 20th century had three pandemics, 1917, 1957 and 1968. Those three pandemics were similar to bird flu because they mutated in two ways, unlike other viruses that only mutate in one way. So it mutates very quickly.
When a sequence comes from other animals, humans don't have the antibodies. When humans don't have antibodies, a virus can spread quickly.
With the flights of infected migratory birds, a virus can spread far and wide. Every summer, nearly 30% of waterfowl are infected with influenza. When the virus passes through a bird's body, it comes out in the droppings and can survive at 20 degrees Celsius for over a week. In just 1 gram of feces, there can be 1 billion viruses. One way to protect yourself is to avoid bird droppings. But avian flu can be transmitted in another way. Pigs can host both avian and human influenza viruses, acting as potential mixing vessels for the genetic sequence to produce a new strain, as happened in 2009 with H1N1.
After pigs get infected, they don't get that sick. They cough but don't get seriously ill. When that happens, the virus can spread. Viruses love that kind of host. We're worried H5N1 or H5N2 will jump to pigs and get reassorted. Perhaps in 3 months or a year, a new virus will appear that retains the properties of H5N1 or H5N2, but can quickly spread from humans to humans. That'll be another pandemic.
When 2 or more different strains mix together, the results are impossible to predict. Another concern is the virus's ability to quickly evolve.
Avian influenza can go from low to highly pathogenic in a short space of time, which is why we're still worried when we hear low pathogenic, because if you ignore it and let it spread in chickens or ducks, after a few generations, it may become highly pathogenic.
In highly pathogenic bird flu, there are more basic amino acids at the HA cleavage site, so it can be cleaved by lots of proteases. Proteases are enzymes found all over the body, so the virus can spread through the whole body.
When there are fewer than 4 basic amino acids at the virus's cleavage site, the point where it binds to a cell, then the virus will not be infectious. But if the virus evolves to have multiple basic amino acids, then its binding site can be cleaved, allowing it to enter the cell and rapidly multiply. The mortality rate of a highly contagious virus can be over 75%. The H5N2 and H5N1 viruses detected in Taiwan are both highly infectious and highly pathogenic. But H5N1 can lead to a deadly cytokine storm.
H5N1 is interesting because after infection, it will cause the host to produce more cytokines, which can be harmful, for example, in the respiratory system, so humans can get lung infection and even die.
Bird flu, or H5N1, created a storm in Taiwan. Now H5N2 has arrived. Thankfully, no human cases have been reported so far. But since the virus evolved from low to highly pathogenic in a short 6 months, we cannot afford to drop our guard.
Staying on the topic of healthcare in Taiwan, treatment of Parkinson's disease on the island is usually based on findings from abroad. However, Tzu Hospital in Hualien set up a research team 10 years ago to explore the possibility of treating the disease with deep brain stimulation. To date, nearly 150 patients have been treated.
Residing in Taiwan's Kaohsiung, Wu Suntian works as a jewelry appraiser. However, after developing Parkinson's disease 14 years ago, it was thanks to the implant therapy he received at Hualien Tzu Hospital that his life turned around.
The operation was very beneficial for my husband and has alleviated my own burden. To him, it was like getting a second chance at life. When a man has a job, he'll feel confident about himself. I'm very happy for him.
Parkinson's disease is the second most common degenerative neural disorder after dementia. 10 years ago, Hualien Tzu Hospital in Taiwan put together a special group of researchers to battle the illness and has since treated nearly 150 cases using deep brain stimulation.
Though deep brain stimulation therapy has its limitations, just like medication, still, as long as it can help improve the patient's quality of life, we recommend getting the treatment as soon as possible. This ensures the patients will receive proper care.
With their patients' best interests in mind, after years of hard work, the research team has published a report based on agent physiology instead of relying on data from abroad.
First, physiologically speaking, the problem area can be magnified by over 10,000-fold. Second, for patients who suffer neurological disorder and illness, we can help them overcome this obstacle, if I may, this handicap, to make a partial or even near full recovery.
The paper was recognized for its excellence by the Taiwan Surgical Association, as deep brain stimulation continues to be an effective treatment in battling Parkinson's disease.
Every 40 seconds, someone in the world takes their own life. But are things ever really so bad that you have to resort to suicide? In our next story, we introduce you to Liu Zixuan, who is a Tzu volunteer in Taipei, Taiwan. She's had a hard life and contemplated ending it all on several occasions. When she was 17, she lost a leg in a road accident. Then, at 33, she broke up with her husband after 10 years of marriage, forcing her to bring up her 2 children alone. Still, Zixuan persevered, and now at 51, she wants the world to know that life is good.
In this old picture, Taipei's Tzu volunteer Liu Zixuan was smiling happily. Sadly, she would later lose her left leg to an auto accident at 17.
I went on a road trip with my colleagues. The accident happened halfway to our destination. We were hit by another car, and I flew over to the outer lane and was crushed by a truck.
Zixuan was hospitalized for over half a year. During this excruciating period, she contemplated suicide many times. But thankfully, her family was there for her.
My mom traveled back and forth between Taipei and Keelung. Seeing her toiling over for me like this, I was quite affected. I told myself I could no longer dwell in my sorrow. For my family and my mom, I had to stand up on my own.
Tears trickle down her face as Zixuan remembers her mother. When she was 23, Zixuan got married and gave birth to 2 healthy babies. Yet the marriage would end 10 years later due to her husband's infidelity.
I longed for my husband to come back to me, but he didn't. The constant waiting and disappointment was a torture. I cried every day until one day I said to myself, since he is not coming back, I'll pull myself together and just rely on myself.
For her children, Zixuan remained strong. The family stayed positive and went on trips regularly. Now her daughter is married and her son has a job. Though living alone, Zixuan can still care for herself and remains devoted to volunteer work.
In Tzu Chi, I feel that I have opened up my mind and heart. Though there is a limit to what my body can do, my heart has infinite reach. I feel that I must do the best that I can to love and help more people.
Overcoming life's challenges and discovering her strength, Tzu Xuan's journey is inspirational to her fellow volunteers.
I have discovered that her method is better. She can truly open up herself and face life with a positive attitude.
Performing a Tzu Chi sign language song while being supported by her crutches, Liu Zixuan wants people to know that she lives a blessed life.
Balloons in weird and wonderful shapes are an indispensable part of childhood. In today's feature on Taiwan's traditional industries, we investigate how the balloon business went flat and how one factory in Taichung survived despite the threat of the bubble bursting. The company had the foresight to build a museum to educate the public about the local balloon industry and bring in some extra income.
In the blink of an eye, the tubular balloon comes to life in the dexterous hands of the entertainer. Awestruck, every child is clearly mesmerized by the versatility of the balloon. The inflatables are good for DIY sessions and games. Their bright colors ignite the fuzzy happiness within people at any age.
He means you can use balloons as firecrackers because when they pop, they make the same explosive sound.
We have all played with balloons as a child. They are round and can be twisted into many different shapes. We want the kids to have a taste of the childhood fun we had back in the days.
Both children and adults are having tons of fun with the rubber toys that can turn into anything your imagination desires. In Taiwan's Taichung, a museum was opened to celebrate these lightest-air childhood essentials.
I had a dream, and it was to see to it that the people I serve have lots of fun.
The Taiwan Balloons Museum was revamped from an old balloon factory. Here you can learn about the development of the industry in the country, and through the display of old manufacturing equipment, understand the harsh working environment of those who made balloons by hand.
At the height of Taiwan's balloon industry, there were 20 factories, 3/4 of which were located in Taichung County, while the rest were found around Tainan and Jiayi.
With increased production costs and tough competition from overseas, the balloon factories in Taiwan closed down one by one. To survive, the remaining balloon manufacturers had to buy new machines and become fully automated to increase production.
If you don't do anything about the system or implement automated manufacturing, you won't be able to bring costs down because you will need people. We had difficulty finding workers. At our peak, we employed more than 100 people, but now we're down to around 80. Nevertheless, our production efficiency has increased several-fold.
Half a century later, the sole surviving latex balloon factory in Taiwan has been consolidating its market share with constant product innovations, such as making balloons that race like a car or fly like a chopper, giving the much-loved inflatables an array of forms that will continue to please fans young and old.
Continuing from our last story, The latex balloon factory, owned by Yo Shanbo and his daughter, is the sole surviving business of its kind in Taiwan. One of the secrets to the company's success is the business culture. Employees are treated like family, and most of the staff have served the company for more than 20 years. Yo Shanbo is happy that his daughter returned to the company to make sure that the family business will continue for as long as balloons are needed in Taiwan.
The half-made balloons on the machines are shining with inviting colors that beckon the child within you. Yo Shanbo is the third-generation owner of this balloon factory. After inheriting the factory from his father, Yo Rongchang, Yo Shanbo's business goal was to increase production and build a complete welfare system for employees, including scholarships for the children of his staff. Lu Jingfeng came to the factory when she was 20. Now, 36 years later, she is still with the company with 2 children who are in their 20s.
We have a lot of senior employees in the company. Some of them are old, some have retired, and some have passed away. I'm still working for the company because I like how homely it is.
Everybody in the company is very close to one another, and we believe that without united efforts, we can overcome any challenge.
Weathering thick and thin together, Yo Shanbo and his employees have kept the factory going for many years. Like an adhesive that binds the staff together, Yo's gentle and honest nature is evident when he speaks of his father.
My father, that poor man, he really toiled. Poor man.
Yo was unable to hold back his tears at the mention of his father, who grew up with the support of his uncle, Lu Wutong. When Mr. Yo Sr. established himself later in life and his uncle's balloon factory got into financial trouble, he took over the ailing business without hesitation.
My grandfather passed away in his 40s, and life became very hard for the family. Fortunately, my great-uncle helped out.
Grateful for the help his father once received, Yo Shanbo is returning the favor by paying forward the love to his staff. Daughter Yo Wanyu is responsible for the company's charity projects. Yo Wanyu regularly visits children's cancer wards with her employees to put on balloon shows. Previously working in the fashion industry, she returned to the family business when her father buckled under stress 7 years ago.
After he suffered a minor stroke, his health rapidly deteriorated, and he lost a lot of weight too. He had another stroke in less than a year. That was when I realized that wherever you are always connected to your loved ones.
Now her father's right-hand woman, Yo Wanyu is putting her love for her family into action by running the balloon factory together with her father.
At the Selangor chapter in Malaysia, volunteers recently held a humanitarian education seminar that was attended by 441 educational volunteers and teachers from around Malaysia, as well as 35 volunteers from Singapore. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.